Alright guys, we're going to work through some of these problems for R4, Pythagorean theorem word problems, very similar to what you did last week. You're just going to have to be careful with your word problems to make sure you know what one you're talking about, whether it's the legs or the base. So two cars leave the same parking lot, one heading north and the other heading east. After several minutes, the eastbound car has traveled 8 kilometers. If the two cars are now a straight line distance of 17 kilometers apart, how far has the northbound car traveled? So what we're going to do first is go ahead and draw that out. So this is my northbound car, and they both started at the same place. Then I have another car that's going eastbound, and it tells me in my word problem that after several minutes, the eastbound car has traveled 8 kilometers. So I can go ahead and write 8 kilometers. And then it tells me that they are at a straight line distance of 17 kilometers. So then this would be the side that I'm missing, which could be your a or b squared. So now we're going to set up the problem. A squared plus 8 squared equals 17 squared. And then I'm going to work those out. This is 64, 289. So now we're going to solve this equation. Subtract 64 from both sides. That leaves you with 225. That one's gone. And when you find the square root of 225, it's going to be 15 kilometers. So the answer to the question, how far has the northbound car traveled? It's going to be 15 kilometers. All right, our next problem. Miss McClure is teaching a 5th grade class. She is standing 5 meters in front of Janelle. And Gordon is sitting 12 meters to Janelle's right. How far apart are Miss McClure and Gordon? All right, this first part of your information is not necessary. It's part of the word problem you can cross out. You don't need it. It's not important. We know that she's standing in front of Janelle, so I'm going to go ahead and draw that. Here's Janelle, and Miss McClure is standing here in front of her. And then it goes on to tell us that she is 5 meters, and Gordon is 12 meters to Janelle's right. This is Gordon, and he is 12 meters. He wants to know how far apart are Miss McClure and Gordon. So this is our c squared. We've got our legs, so that's a and b squared. So 5 squared plus 12 squared equals c squared. So we can go ahead and solve these. 5 squared is 25. 12 squared is 144 equals c squared. So we're going to add those numbers together, which gives us 169. And the square root of 169 will be 13 meters. So Gordon and Miss McClure are 13 meters apart. All right, our next problem. An envelope measures 5 inches by 8 inches. A pencil is placed in the envelope at a diagonal. What is the maximum possible length of the pencil? And then it says, if necessary, round to the nearest tenth. All right, so here's my envelope. This is basically what they're telling you it looks like. It is going to be 5 inches tall, 8 inches wide. And then they have laid a pencil diagonally across the envelope, and it wants to know how long could the pencil be. So that's what we're looking for. So we have both of our legs, 5 squared plus 8 squared equals c squared. So 5 squared is 25 plus 8 squared is 64 equals c squared. add both of those numbers together. That's 89. The square root of 89 is 9.4 inches. So the possible length of the pencil, the longest maximum possible length, is 9.4 inches. And I rounded that to the nearest tenth. All right, next problem. Miss Maynard is teaching a 5th grade class. Again, this is information that we do not need. She is standing 9.2 meters in front of Harry. So here's Harry. And Miss Maynard is 9.2 meters in front of him. Then it says that Brian is sitting to Harry's right. So we know that Brian is over here somewhere to Harry's right. Then it tells us that Brian and Miss Maynard are 10 meters apart. So they've actually given us the hypotenuse on this one. So we need to figure out one of the legs. How far apart are Harry and Brian? Round to the nearest 10. So then our equation is going to look like this. 9.2 squared plus b squared equals 10 squared. 9.2 squared is 84.64 plus b squared equals 10 squared, which is 100. Solve it like an equation. You're going to subtract 84.64 from both sides. And that is going to leave you with 15.36. Then we need to find the square root of that. And after rounding to the nearest tenth, is going to be 3.9 meters. So that means that Harry and Brian are 3.9 meters apart. All right, last problem. This problem you have to pay extra attention to. I'll show you why. All right, Charlie lives 56 kilometers due south of his parents. So that means that his parents are here, and Charlie is going to be 56 kilometers away from them. Then due south of his parents' house, and 42 kilometers west of his grandparents' house. So that means that he is 42 kilometers away. Let me make that a little shorter. He is 42 kilometers away from his grandparents' house. So on his birthday, Charlie drove from, let me change colors. Charlie drove from his house to his parents' house. From there, he drove in a straight line to his grandparents' house. So then he went here. And then from his grandparents' house, he went back home. So now we need to figure out how far did Charlie drive on his birthday. And we're at around to the nearest tenth. All right, so before we can figure out how far he went on his birthday, we have to figure out what this missing hypotenuse is. So we're going to set up that equation as we have both legs. So those are our A and B. So 56 squared plus 42 squared equals C squared. 56 squared is 3,136. 42 squared is 1,764. and then that equals the c squared. When you add both of those numbers together, you're going to get 4,900. The square root of that is 70. So 70 kilometers is how far it is from his parents' house to his grandparents' house. But our question asks us how far he went on his birthday. And you'll have to remember, he started at his house, went to his parents, went to his grandparents, and then went back home. So we're going to add all three of those numbers together. 42, 56, and 70. And together that gives me 168 kilometers. All right, so that is all the levels that you have for this IXL skill.